For a discussion about America's energy future, please welcome U.S. Department of Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. And here to lead the conversation is Atlantic Senior Editor Vann R. Newkirk II.
How y'all feeling? Y'all awake? Secretary, thank you so much for joining us. And I guess we'll jump right in. We want to talk about America's clean energy future. And I imagine you might have a few things to say about that.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Everybody who cares about climate change and this clean energy future should feel really, really great about where we started and where we're going. The president has this goal of getting 100% of clean electricity on the grid by 2035. And you should know that because of the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law, by 2030, we will have, in America, 80% of our grid powered by clean, zero carbon emitting energy. Fantastic, right? So I feel really great about that and about the greenhouse gas reductions that go along with it.
Let's take a step back. What exactly is the Department of Energy's role in this energy transition?
Yeah, we are in it, top to bottom, side to side, and everywhere in between. So the Department of Energy, for those of you who may not follow this so closely and who would, we have been historically a research, science, and development agency. We have 17 national laboratories. We're doing all of this research in next generation energy products, how to make them better, technologies. And we also shepherd the nation's nuclear stockpile. When this administration came in and passed those amazing laws, we reorganized the Department of Energy entirely to have a column that focuses on deployment. So while we have done research and development and early stage demonstration of clean energy, now we do full-on deployment. Our motto inside the department is deploy, deploy, deploy. We've hired 1,000 people to make sure we can get these clean technologies out across the country. And that's the results that we are seeing is because of the efforts inside of the Department of Energy and the great folks who work there, top to bottom.
So what are your big ticket items in the department over the last couple years and in the future?
Well, because of the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Department of Energy was given about $100 billion to get these technologies in partnership with the private sector out. And so, for example, the bipartisan infrastructure law is largely a law that allows us to offer grants to key technologies to be able to see them deployed. And the Inflation Reduction Act offers incentives for companies like tax credits, et cetera, to lure them to the United States. So we have, since the passage of those laws, seen $500 billion invested across America, $6 by the private sector, $1 by the public sector, in pockets all across America. We have over 800 factories that have announced that they are coming or expanding in America to produce the clean energy technologies that will get us to this big goal of 100% clean. That's happening all across the country. And so the big players in that, of course, end up being solar and wind from just a deployment point of view. We're also obviously investing in all other kinds of energy. I know we can talk about these next generation technologies, but you should also be excited that, if you look under the hood of those stats that I was giving by 2030, we're going to see this year, in terms of the amount of energy we add to this grid, we will be adding 60 gigawatts of energy to our transmission grid this year. 60 gigawatts is essentially 30 Hoover dams. And in that 30 Hoover dams that we're adding, and of course we have to add more clean energy to the grid because we want to electrify transportation. We want to make sure that we have enough power for all these data centers with AI that are coming on board. And then all these factories that are opening up across the country require all this new energy. But on the solar side, we will be adding this year 38 gigawatts. So, 19 Hoover dams of just solar on our grid this year.
Now, you mentioned powering our data centers. Is there competition in that grid now? Will we have enough grid capacity for America's AI goals in the future and also be able to meet our clean energy goals?
Yeah, that's exactly what we are focusing on. This is why we're adding so much power to the grid now. And we are also investing in next generation technologies in addition to solar, because these data centers, and everybody wants to see clean baseload power, right? And that's power that is not just solar when the sun shines and not just wind when the wind blows, but also what are the technologies that make those technologies like baseload so that they're available 24/7. And the biggest technology to do that, of course, is battery storage. And so we've invested in long duration battery storage for utilities. If you can get batteries that last 10 hours or more, that wind and solar become like baseload. But we're also investing in other types of clean energy that's 24/7. For example, one of my favorites is enhanced geothermal, bless you, enhanced geothermal, and that is the heat beneath our feet. And that is very exciting because we think we've got, 150 Hoover dams worth of base load power from enhanced geothermal to be able to add to the grid. So these next generation technologies are exciting, but we're also seeing these data centers partner with next generation geothermal companies or small modular reactors, nuclear companies that are building these smaller reactors, not just the big AP1000s that are 1 gigawatt, but maybe they're 300 megawatt plants that are more modular and can be used in all sorts of ways. So bottom line is we can totally add the amount of power that's necessary that is clean to the grid, and these laws that were passed and signed into law by the president and voted, the deciding vote by the vice president, these laws are enabling us to be able to do that as a nation.
Now, obviously, in the 4 years prior to 2021, the department had a slightly different clean energy strategy, or lack thereof. And has it been difficult? Has it been a challenge for you and the department to ramp up quickly after that radical shift in priorities?
I think the department itself, full of an unbelievable civil servants, are all about science, and they are excited to be able to work on the technologies that get us to these goals of solving climate change and of adding this clean electricity to the grid. So honestly, when these laws came into being and we reorganized the department to be able to account for that, people have been totally excited and totally enthused about, about working in this department. We are now one of the best places to work in the federal government, and people love the mission. Of course, if you've got a mission that you believe you are solving the biggest existential problem we have, who wouldn't want to be there? If you are investing at an unbelievable rate in solving that problem, we're in the middle. I mean, as we say, I have an all-hands meeting shortly after this, and so, I'll remind people that, sometimes when you're in the middle of history, it's hard to know because you're in the middle of it. But this is history making, what is happening now across the country in this deployment of clean energy. Our folks really feel that mission.
It's September, mid-September, and the election's around the corner. On the other side of this, how is the department thinking about, with all of these new priorities, all of people who are involved in this radical transformation, safeguarding that kind of work and that strategy?
Well, obviously, we have over 100,000 people. Most of them are civil servants, and so they take that responsibility of shepherding the department and its mission very seriously. We have, because we were given a huge amount of resources to be able to do all of this deployment, our focus has been on how do we make sure that we make the selections that are necessary so that that money is secured and it will go forth. And so we have been doing really well in terms of being able to make those selections. So by the time that there is a transition, we believe that things will have been well in motion in a way that can't be undone.
Under
We're
y'all
aware.
are awake. Y'all are under the Biden administration's Justice 40 program, 40% of the overall benefits of federal climate and clean energy programs, they should flow to disadvantaged communities. How is the department identifying and what those benefits are and how they are quantified?
Yeah, this is such an important question because, well, first of all, the laws themselves embed equity into them, meaning that they're, for example, say you are a solar developer and you decide that you want to put a solar, community solar project and you put it adjacent to, in a disadvantaged community, perhaps adjacent to public housing. So you get a 30% tax credit, essentially, as a solar developer for doing a solar project. That's a tax credit, not a tax deduction, right? So on top of that, if you put in those that development using American-made solar panels, you get another 10%. So now it's a 40% tax credit. If you locate in a disadvantaged community, you get another 10%. Now it's a 50% tax credit. If you locate next to multifamily housing, affordable housing, you get another percentage tax credit. So you can get up to, and if you pay prevailing wage and you use apprenticeships, you can get another 10%. You can get up to 60 to 70% tax credit for locating that clean energy project in a community that has been left behind. And that's embedded equity into these laws, which is great, number one. Number two, when we give out grants to companies, these are all competitive grants, right? So we evaluate them based upon a community benefits plan. And that community benefits plan has to say, what are you doing for the community? Are you engaging with the community? How many jobs will go to the community? How will you benefit the workforce in that community? And I say that because of all of the funding that I was talking about, like that $500 billion, 81% of that are going to counties with below average wages. So that's rural areas, that is urban areas, but these are communities that are hungry. 81% of all of those opportunities are going to communities where people are looking and are hungry for those opportunities. So it's working that we are, I think, in the Jewish tradition, they have tikkun olam, which is you heal the world. The way this has been deployed, the way this is working, is that we are healing the world by giving opportunities for these communities. So we're excited about that.
Let's talk LNG. So recently, the department's been in the news because a federal judge blocked the administration's pause on LNG, liquefied natural gas exports. What sort of levers are there left to continue the policy?
Well, what we, of course, just to put this in perspective, liquefied natural gas is the gas that's exported from the United States because you have to liquefy it in order to transit it to countries who want it, right? We are the largest exporter of natural gas in this fashion in the world. And there's so much that is queued up to come online that we had to pause just to pause the permitting of new ones. I mean, the existing ones are all going. We're still the largest, all that. But we wanted to take a look using our national labs at, number one, what is going to be the global demand for liquefied natural gas going forward? What are the greenhouse gas impacts of this infrastructure? Will we be building stranded infrastructure? Will there be demand, right? And what are the greenhouse gas impacts? What is the demand looking like from our allies, like who are looking for natural gas? And what are the impacts on the ground where these terminals are, often on the Gulf Coast, often in disadvantaged communities that have felt the negative impacts of these developments? So our labs are in the process of doing a study, and we said we're going to pause new permits until we get the results of this so that we can evaluate those requests based upon the most recent data. The judge came in and said, you can't pause. You've got to continue to permit. And so, since we got that ruling, we have permitted one additional facility, but we're evaluating them all as they come in, and this study that we are doing should be, the first draft of it should be out by the end of this year for public comment so that we can continue to evaluate the impacts, both positive and negative, of LNG across the globe.
Depending on the results of that report, would the department and the administration be looking to or be open to changing our LNG policy?
Well, let's just say that the Natural Gas Act requires us to evaluate permits or authorizations based upon whether it's in the public interest. And so what's in the public interest has to be evaluated based upon science and our best data. And so, we're going to look at what those factors are when it comes in from the studies. So there may or may not be an adjustment depending on what the studies find.
How is the department managing the workforce effects of this transition?
Of the clean energy transition? Okay. This is amazing to me. First of all, we know that the job creation rate under this administration has been amazing, right? More jobs created than any administration in any time in American history. That's great. The clean energy component of that is also great. Just in the clean energy space, over 400,000 jobs have already been created. That is twice the rate of growth than in the rest of the economy. And those are happening in all pockets of the country, giving opportunity all the way across the nation. It's very exciting.
What is the role of nuclear in this portfolio going forward?
Yeah, we're very bullish on nuclear. The next generation reactors, these small modular reactors that I was referring to when we were talking about the data centers, they are very promising. Our allies around the world would like to see them as well. We have a gold standard regulatory regime in the United States because the first issue is, are they safe, right? And we have the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act have incentivized additional nuclear. Now, they're expensive. Nuclear is expensive. And so the question is, at what point will there actually be a tipping point because once you can take these small modular reactors to scale, you can see more of them because the cost will be reduced. We're hoping that these hyperscalers, the data center folks, the Microsofts and Googles of the world, that they decide to maybe buy a 6-pack or an 8-pack of these small modular reactors so that they can be manufactured at scale and those prices come down. But the incentives for clean energy are still there with nuclear, existing nuclear as well as new nuclear. And let me just say one other thing about nuclear that I think is very exciting. And in the Department of, so nuclear is about fission, right? Splitting atoms. But the next generation, the really next generation of nuclear is about fusion, which means you push them together and you create energy. And that fusion doesn't create any radioactive waste. And that, if we crack the code on that, so one of our national labs achieved fusion ignition, which means that you got more energy out than put in trying to create the reaction, achieved that in December a year ago. And so that was the first time in the world that that had happened. It tells you the importance of investing in basic science and research. So we know it can happen. Now there's a goal of getting a commercial fusion plant within a decade. And there's all sorts of companies that are investing in making that happen. That kind of clean baseload power is extremely promising, still a little bit out, but we are very bullish on that as well.
While we are still using fission, how do we deal with that waste and make sure that it is equitably sited.
Yeah, this is really important too, because obviously you want to make sure that waste is disposed of in a way that is not where the community accepts it. So we are in the process of something called community-based siting, a process where we are in conversation with a number of communities who are willing, who have the right geography, because often this is disposed of deep beneath the surface, who have the right geography and who are willing and eager to be helpful to our nation, to serve our nation in that way, and would be compensated, obviously, for doing that. So we would like to see this happen in a way that is accepted and embraced by a community, to do the siting of waste facilities. So that's number one. But number two is there's a lot of work that's being done in recycling as well. France, for example, recycles their spent nuclear fuel. And if we can look at that as well, that's another option that many companies, innovators, are now looking at as well in the United States.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you the question that we talked about backstage. Do you and the Department of Education have to fight over who gets to be called the DOE?
We are the DOE. Tell that to Secretary Cardona. No, we are the DOE. And as many of you know, who know acronyms, we are capital D, capital O, capital E. They are capital D, small o, big E. So that's the big difference.
Thank you so much, Secretary.